The kitchen smelled like fresh paint, warm coffee, and faint traces of sawdust. Ethan leaned against the edge of the counter, phone in hand, scrolling through the guest list for the 100th time. Which Tom paused and moved again, double-checking who he confirmed. Chairs, plates, extra napkins he calculated in his head, imagining how each family member and friend would fit into the living room's carefully planned layout. The house finally looked complete, at least outwardly. After 6 months of laborious renovation and stripping flowers, sanding banisters until each hand blistered, tilling the bedroom, installing the kitchen cabinets, he felt a pride that mingled uneasily with exhaustion. His back ached from last weekend's work on the deck, but he didn't mind. He wanted this house to be more than wood and paint. He wanted it to be tears. A soft clearing of a throat drew him from his thoughts. I invited one more person, Clara said from the doorway. Her voice was casual, almost breezy, as if she were maintaining she picked up a carton of milk rather than noticing something that would unravel him. Ethan looked up, blinking. Who? Lucas, she said. The name hovered in the air, heavy and acrid, like smoke drifting from a smoldering fire. Yet Hans Tom froze me cheerful. Your ex? He asked, carefully, almost hoping he had misheard. Yes, she said, pouring hairs of coffee toward meeting which he says. He's been asking about the house. I thought that you would be nice to it. Nice. The word felt grotesque in Yethan's mouth before he even thought it. He set his phone down on the counter with deliberate care, the way one sets down a fragile glass before it shatters. The word, nice, didn't belong to this moment. Not here. Clara, you've been planning this 4 months, he said, keeping with his voice but tense. This is our housewarming for our friends, our family. Is you a variant of our year's toy, for ich pression hardened before she even spoke. I'm not having this conversation, she said. I invited him. Is coming? Tick. Ethan felt a sudden heat rise in Uchi's chest, a pressure that made it hard to breathe. You didn't think to ask me first, to even mention it. I don't need permission to invite people to my own house, Clara shot back. My own house. Ethan repeated, the words catching like stones in Uchi's throat. Not our house. Ours. This was supposed to be ours too. He paused, closing Uchi's mouth, then trying again. This isn't about permission. It's about respect. It's about... Go to hell. She caught him out sharply. Her voice listening through the air like glass breaking. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Ethan stood alone, watching her retreat upstairs, her shoulder brushing past him, leaving an invisible mark that lingered longer than her presence. He remained in the kitchen, the space they had built together, yet the room felt alien. The coffee maker beeped a mundane, indifferent signal. Outside, a dog barked. The word carried on, oblivious to the fracture in Uchi's chest. The last 6 months ripping out ratchet soap flooring, sanding and staining banisters, repainting walls, choosing fixtures had been a shared endeavor, or so he had thought. But memory surfaced with unsettling clarity. The number of times Uchi's sojourns were dismissed, decisions made toward him, subtle choices that reflected her touched him more than tears. The house had been their fresh start after last year's miscarriage, a canvas to build something new after months of financial stress and emotional strain. Yet now, Ethan wondered whose vision he had truly been following, Uchi's phone buzzed against the counter. Heard it confirmations. Heard it gray now. He imagined the name Lucas written neatly in Clara's handwriting on the mental list she kept. He wondered how long it had been there. What else had been painted on that list, and to which parts of their life had been quietly accounted for toward him. The upstairs shower started, the sound a harsh reminder of her presence in the house, her dominion over spaces he had labored to shape. Ethan barely slept the night before the housewarming. Lying beside Clara, staring at shadows cast by the unfamiliar ceiling light, he felt like a stranger in Uchi's own bed. She had rolled through after midnight, taking most of the blanket with her. By 6 in the morning, he was up, ranging furniture that didn't need ranging, shifting couches, straightening picture frames, their wedding photo, a sunset from their honeymoon, Clara's parents' stiff smiles frozen, in a Christmas snapshot. HE's family's presence in the room was minimal. He realized he had never noticed it before, and the emptiness gnawed at him. BY 9. Clara appeared, already dressed, already moving with purpose. She had planned the music, the flowers, the aesthetic of the entire orchestra, and that had excluded him entirely. He get the chairs from the garage. It ran offered. Lucas is bringing Kickster from HE's place, she said, checking her phone. He has those nice holding on toy. Yet Hans just sank. Of course, Lucas was already solving problems, embedding himself in a word Ethan had been constructing for months. Great, Ethan said flatly. Clara looked at him, really looked at him for the first time that morning. Are you going to be weird about this all day? Weird? About what? Ethan asked, the sharpness in his voice restrained. About a my friend UEF's ex-boyfriend playing host at our surming. God, Ethan, she set her phone down with enough hours to make him flinch. Is a friend, even on him 8 years. Lowinger ten even on you too. The scoreboard, the tally of past relationships versus current life, was now painfully visible. Ethan kept HE's voice level. I'm not saying he can be you a friend. I'm saying this feels wrong too. Slara says nerot. You're insensitive. The word struck him like a slap. Insensitive. As if is very discomfort. HE's reaction to a man who had been a part of her life for years was a character flaw rather than a legitimate boundary. She could have argued, could have catalogued every violation of respect, every line of decency overstepped. But he swallowed the words instead. The way he had always swallowed them, the way he had preserved the pieces of painting of HE's own voice. He set up the drinks table, he muttered. Relief flickered across her face. Song you took. The morning blurred into movement. Platters appeared, left to fill the empty rooms, and Ethan became a preferred figure, a resigned minor tiscus, tanked up Saint Mindidler, invisible amid the orchestration. And as Lara's friends arrived early, ranging flowers and digesting furniture, Ethan felt something settle deep in his chest, not nervousness, not anger, but resignation. The whole surming, for all its superficial joy, had become a stage on which he was simultaneously participant and ghost. The unseen guest Lucas was already part of the scenery. Ethan could only stand and watch, holding a plate, moving eyes, while the invisible lines of control and attention were drawn round him, and he realized, with a quiet ache, that the life he had believed he was building was slipping from it before the party had even begun. Morning arrived too quickly, as if the night had never fully settled. Ethan lay awake long before the alarm, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling of their newly finished bedroom. The paint warm grey, Slara shows reflected the early light in a way that felt steadily rather than comforting. The room was supposed to feel like a reward. Instead, it felt like a showroom. Perfectly ranged there, untouched by warmth. Clara lay beside him, her back turned, shoulders tight. At some point during the night she had rolled away and taken most of the blanket with her, leaving Ethan passed to the cool air. He hadn't reached for it. Reaching felt pointless now. Every small gesture seemed to carry more weight than he could bear. At 6 часов утра, he gave up on sleep. He dressed quietly and put downstairs, the hardwood flowers cold beneath his feet. The house creaked softly, still adjusting to its new life. He told himself that volatility was wood-sitting, structure winding balance. But the sound caught in ears just like something fragile breaking. He started rearranging furniture that didn't need rearranging. The couch looked fine where it was, but he shifted it anyway, nudging it a few inches left, 10 right, before returning it to the exact same spot. He straightened the roof beneath the coffee table, aligned the edges until they were perfectly parallel to the flower boards. He adjusted the scruples, one by one, until they formed a symmetrical pattern he didn't even like. In the dining room, he straightened picture frames that were already straight. Their wedding photo stared back at him. Ethan remembered that day vividly, the heat, the way Clara had squeezed each hand before they said their vows, the relief in her smile. He had believed that it meant certainty. He wondered now if it had been gratitude instead. Next to it hung a photograph from their honeymoon, a sunset over the water, Clara laughing, entangled in her hair. He couldn't remember her who had taken it. Probably one of the other couples he had met on the trip. A stranger capturing a moment he had thought was private. By the time Clara came downstairs around 9, Ethan had already exhausted himself with meaningless adjustments. She moved through the house with efficient energy, already dressed, already focused. She didn't ask if it slept. She didn't comment on the tension still hanging in there from the argument days earlier. I made a playlist, she said, tapping on her phone. And the flowers should right by noon. Okay, Ethan replied. I also ordered extra appetizers. People eat more when here drinking too. Sure? She didn't notice Adria's tone. Or maybe she didn't say not to acknowledge GT. That had become her specialty. He grabbed the chairs from the garage. Ethan now, desperately philosophical, included. Lucas is bringing some from each's place. Clara said casually, still on her phone. He has those nice folding coupons. The wooden kind too. Ethan froze. Is bringing chairs. Yes, he offered. Of course he did. Something inside Ethan twisted not anger this time, but humiliation. Lucas wasn't just pretending. He was contributing. Becoming unnecessary. Becoming visible in ways Ethan no longer seemed to be. Cuts, thoughtful, Ethan said. Clara finally looked up at him. Really looked. Her expression subtended for just a second before tightening again. Are you going to be like this all day? Like what? Distant. Cold. Weird? Ethan let out a slow breath. Im trying what? To not feel like a guest in my own house to it. Her jaw tightened. You're being dramatic too. The word landed heavy. Dramatic. As if the past day the argument, the dismissal, the unspoken tension are nothing more than mood swings. This isn't about drama, Ethan said quietly. It's about respect. Clara sighed, exasperated. You're insinuated. There it was again. That word, sharp and dismissive. As if naming which is pain made it illegitimate. Ethan swallowed his response. He had learned, over time, that pushing back only made things worse. It turned into a tale. A debate he always lost. He set up the drinks table, he said instead. Relief crossed her voice. Song you took. The morning dissolved into controlled chairs. The catering trays arrived there. Clara's friends came early, filling the house with laughter that bounced out the walls and slid past Ethan as if he reigned there. They hugged Clara, complimented the space, discussed design choices she'd made choices Ethan had barely been consulted on. The silent is gorgeous, one friend said. So you, Clara took? I knew the moment I saw it. Clara replied. Ethan stood nearby, ranging glasses. He had installed the island. Carried the countertop himself with a bureau dolly. No one asked. A group of Clara's college friends took over the living room, adjusting decorations, laughing loudly. They spoke in shirt references Ethan didn't understand, memories he wasn't part of. He moved between rooms, fetching eyes, ruffling balls, becoming a sensation rather than a person. At 1 час дня, which is phone buzzed. A group checked. Lucas, 30 minutes out. Can't wait to see the place. Clara's face lit up in a way Ethan hadn't seen in months. Genuine excitement. Anticipation. I should change, she said, already heading upstairs. Ethan watched her go, a heavy realization settling in his stomach. This wasn't nervous. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was something he had been refusing to name. The first guest arrived there at 2. Yet Hans' brother came early, stepping inside and immediately noticing yet Hans' expression. You okay? His brother asked quietly. Fine. Ethan replied too quickly. Help me with the court. By 2 часа 30 minutes, the house was full. Compartments flowed freely. People admired the renovations, praised Clara's for design, asked about the neighborhood. Ethan smiled when required, did when spoken to. No one asked about the deck it built. The bedroom it retired. The wiring it redone after watching countless tutorials late into the night. At 2 часа 45 minutes, the door bell rang. Clara appeared instantly, smoothing her dress, touching her hair. Ethan stood back, watching as she opened the door. Lucas, come in. Lucas stepped into carrying folding chair slide they weighed nothing. He was tall, confident, smiling easily. The kind of man who seemed comfortable anywhere. They hagit. Too long. The house looks incredible, Lucas said. Come on, Clara said brightly. Еще you aren't. She'd already given multiple tours that day. Ethan had been beside her for a single one. Lucius found Ethan across the room. He smiled and extended a hand. You must be the husband. Lucas stood. Ethan shook his hand, noting the firm grip, the easy. Ethan, great place, Lucas said, clapping him on the shoulder. Can't wait to see what you two have done with a title. You too. Ethan tasted something bitter and metallic at the back of Uchi's throat. As Lucas disappeared deeper into the house with Clara, Ethan stood near the doorway, surrounded by sea and left, feeling utterly alone. The house was full, vibrant, alive, and yet, somehow, a tiny longer felt like ideas. By the time the whole swarming settled into its arranged rhythm, Ethan felt like he was watching a film he hadn't agreed to star in. Voices overlapped, glasses clinked, laughter rose and fell in waves that washed over him without ever pulling him in. The house was alive now, full in a way it hadn't been during all those months of construction, but it wasn't alive with him. He stood in the kitchen rolling the ice bucket when he heard Lucia's voice drifting from the dining room. Oh, you kept the original hardwood. Lucas said, which is unanimated. That's perfect. I remember you always wanted something with character like this. Ethan froze. Remember, the order caught louder than the cheat around it. He closed his eyes briefly, gripping the edge of the counter until the chill of the stone grounded him. Clara's voice followed. Wow, familiar in a way that twisted something inside his chest. I know. I couldn't bring myself to cover it up to. Couldn't bring herself. Ethan lifted the ice bucket and walked back towards the dining room, weaving between clusters of guests. His co-workers were gathered near the bookshelf, politely admiring framed photos and nodding conversations they weren't really part of. Clara's friends dominated the living room, settled into the space as if it were already theirs. And at the center of it stood Lucas, drink in hand, gesturing proudly as his paquet. The bones of this place are fantastic, Lucas was saying. It just needed someone with vision to see it. Someone, not you two, not Ethan and Clara. Someone synchro. Ethan set the eyes down with a dull clink. A woman he vaguely recognized Bethany. He touched Lucia's arm lightly as she left. You always a great tasty, she said. Remember that loud downtown with the industrial windows. Lucas shook a head. Good, that place too. Clara lowered those windows. Bethany continued. Lucas smiled, nostalgia softening OHS features. We said too. He stopped himself, glanced round, and found Ethan watching. Anyway, Lucas said smoothly, pivoting. This house is better. More permanent. More real too. More real. The love had been real once too. When Lucas and Clara were together. Ethan realized, with a sinking feeling, that the house had powered himself into was now being baptized in someone else's memories. Clara appeared beside Lucas, handing him a fresh drink. Did you show him the deck yet? Not yet, Lucas replied. Should we? We. Ethan watched Aram walk towards the back door, watched Clara's hand briefly touch Lucia's back to get him through. The gesture was small, unconscious, intimate in a way that couldn't be explained through. You always seems happy, yet Hans Broder murmured beside him. Ethan stared straight ahead. That's not what I meant. Before he could say more, Clara sent coated his arm. You must be so proud, she said brightly. Clara says you did most of the renovation work yourself. Some of it, Ethan replied. Well, it's beautiful, the end continued. She has such a good eye. Of course she did. And that young man looks he was just telling us how he helped her through everything last year. Such a good friend to have to. The words hit Ethan like a southern drop. Help her through what? He asked, which is what he stunned even to himself. The end blinked, suddenly unsure. You know, the difficulties. Last year, the miscarriage, HAS hair surgery, the endless earthquakes. The nights he came home too exhausted to speak. He had thought he was being responsible, present in the ways that mattered. Had Lucas been filling the gaps he hadn't ever known existed? Ethan looked out onto the deck. Clara was pointing at something, animated. Lucas leaned against the railing, nodding. He just interested casually on the wood Ethan had sent and stained over 3 weekends. They looked right together, like a photo with only a minor detail altered. That simplicity unchanged there. Ethan felt himself fading. The party pressed on. Lucas fixed a loose cabinet door in the kitchen without being cast, winding the toolbox on HSC secret ROI. People thanked him, asked for advice, treated him like someone who belonged there. Round 6, Ethan found himself alone in the garage. He had come for beer but stopped moving, surrounded by and pen boxes and tools collected for a life he suddenly wasn't sure existed. The door creaked open. A chair's brother stepped in. You've been getting beer for 10 minutes, toy. Ethan exhaled. How do I explain this? You don't have to, which his brother said quietly. I see it, Ethan. Vroman said. Lucia's laughter carried through the walls. Come on, his brother said. Let's go back into it. Ethan did, but the house no longer felt solid beneath his feet. BYA'd. The crowd thinned, leaving Clara's inner circle. Lucas sat on the couch Ethan had researched for weeks. Someone handed him a baby, and he held it easily. You're so good with kids, Clara said, perched beside him. I'll swear. Nicole, slightly drunk, grinned. Remember when you and Lucas talked about having kids? What did you say you'd name a daughter? Ethan watched Clara's face flicker. Sapphire. Lucas said quietly. We liked Sapphire. The room went silent inside yet Hans' chest. Names. Plans. A life imagined with someone else. Clara stood there abruptly. More wine. The moment passed. But Ethan remained frozen, understanding at last that he had never been the center of the story. He had been and understood, and the ghost of the past was sitting comfortably in each's place. The words of fear stayed with Ethan long after the conversation moved on, long after laughter resumed and music filled the gaps where silence had briefly existed. It lodged itself somewhere deep in his chest, pressing outward with every breath. He stood near the edge of the living room, watching people talk and move as if through a glass. The scene distorted. Unreal. They had never talked about names. Not really. When Clara had gotten pregnant last spring, Ethan had suggested names tentatively, almost reverently. It twisted Aram like a ring careful, hopeful. Clara had brushed Aram aside. Think it was too early, that she didn't want to jinx anything. It thought it was fear. It thought it was grief in advance. Now he wondered if it had been current person. If every name his paquet had been weighed against one already chosen and found lacking. Sapphire, a name that had belonged there to a futuri he was never invited into. He found Clara in the kitchen, her back to him, rolling for a wine glass. Her hand shook just slightly, enough for him to notice. The bottle clinked softly against the rim. Sapphire, Ethan said. She froze. For a moment, the house seemed to hold its breath with her. It was just a conversation, Clara said with her turning around. Years ago. It didn't mean anything to. You never told me. Ethan replied. H.A.'s voice surprised him steady. Almost come. You and Lucas talked about having kids. You had names picked out too. She set the bottle down harder than necessary. Because it isn't relevant. We broke up. It didn't happen to. But you wanted it to. Ethan said quietly. Clara turned 10. For a sharp. Everyone has a past. Ethan. You don't get to be jealous of mine too. I'm not jealous of your past, he said. I'm concerned that your past is sitting on our couch holding someone else's baby and making you smile in ways I haven't seen in months. That's not fair, Tex. None of this is fair. Ethan shot back, which his voice rising despite himself. You invited him without asking. You've been parading him round like he belongs here more than I do. And there apparently has been helping you through everything for the past year. Care to explain that? Her expression shifted guilt flashing briefly before hardening into defiance. You ain't there, she said. The words hit harder than any accusation. I was working, Ethan replied. Saving money for this house. For us to. You were absent, Clara said, each a small daur slimming shoot. After the miscarriage, you buried yourself in work. You wouldn't talk about IT. You wouldn't deal with IT. I needed support too. And Lucas was there. Ethan asked. She looked through. All those Latinic cows. He continued. The coffee meetings you never maintained. That's what that was. IT isn't like that, she said quickly. Then what was IT? Ethan pressed. She opened her mouth, closed IT. From the living room, Lucius left Kirit room, confident, at easy. At home. He understands me, Clara said finally. So quietly Ethan almost missed IT. He always has. In ways you don't seem to do. The truth landed cold and heavy. IT isn't an airfare. Not physically. IT was worse. I intermercially preserved the and protested while her marriage slowly starved. So why marry me? Ethan asked. If he understands you so well, why marry me? She looked at him and really looked and something in her eyes made his stomach drop. Not anger, not guilt, pity. Because he didn't want to, she said. He broke up with me. And you were there. You were kind. And I thought. That it do. Ethan finished. She didn't answer. From the living room, Lucas called out, asking where the works was. Clara brushed past Ethan with or turned road, leaving him standing alone in the kitchen of the house built with his hands and his heart. For the first time, he understood. He had been chosen not for who he was, but for who he wasn't. The party wound down slowly. Guests drifted out. The elder ones left first, hugging Clara, praising the house. Lucas lingered, helping clean, laughing with her, their easy unmistakable. Finally, mercifully, Lucas hugged her goodbye and not embrace that lasted just a second too long and left with the folding chairs. The door closed. Silence fell, thick and heavy. Clara immediately began cleaning, her movements quick and purposeful, as if motion could erase what had been said. Ethan watched her for a moment, then turned and walked upstairs. Their bedroom felt different now. Smaller, stranger. He opened the closet and pulled down a duffel bag. What are you doing? Clara asked from the doorway. Painting? Don't be dramatic, she said. Dramatic. Ethan folded a shirt carefully. You told me to go to hell 3 days ago. I'm just finally taking your advice. That's not what I meant. I know, but it's what you felt. She stepped closer. Because of Lucas. Because I have a friend. Because of what he represents, Ethan said, meeting her eyes. Is the lie you wanted. And in the consolation priest. That's not true. You said he didn't want to marry you. That's why you said yes to me. Color rosy in her cheeks. I was upset, but you weren't lying. He zipped the bag halfway. You have been getting from him what you should have been getting from me. And I didn't even know. You didn't ask to it. I was building us a life, Ethan said, his voice cracking. And the whole time, you were somewhere else to it. Clara's eyes filled with tears. I love this house. I know, Ethan said swiftly. But I don't think you ever loved Demet. He paused. If Lucas had proposed, would you have said yes? The silence was answering enough. Ethan finished packing. The house was quiet in a way Ethan had never experienced before. Not the peaceful quiet of rest, but the heavy silence that followed something irreversibly. He zipped the duffel bag fully and sat at the foot of the bed, then stood there for a moment, taking in the room. He had painted these walls himself. 2 coats, careful edges. Clara had chosen the color, a warm grey she said would feel timeless. Now it felt like a room neutral, impersonal, designed to earth no one and comfort no one either. Clara stood near the door, arms folded tightly across her chest, as if holding herself together by 5 hours alone. You're really doing this, she said. Ethan picked up his laptop back from beside the dresser. Yes, Dick. You're just going to walk away from our marriage. He paused at the top of the stairs, back in hand, and looked back at her. I'm not walking away, he said quietly. I'm admitting the truth. She followed him downstairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. The living room lights were still on. Кыстенько юаумгла over the furniture the kaurchit research for weeks. The kaufe table while Clara scrolled through her phone. The friend what the told is tauri hinolowinger brivide. What truth? She asked. That I was never your first choice. Itran replied. That I was feeling case space someone else left behind too. That's not fair. Clara said again, her voice cracking now. I chase you. You chase what I oofed? Itran said gently. Stability. Kindness. A life you could settle into after the one you wanted didn't work out. She shook forehead. You're twisting this. No, he said. I'm finally seeing Katie clearly too. He set the duffel bag down near the front door and reached into Uchi's pocket for Uchi's keys. The metal felt cold in Uchi's palm. He slid the house out of the ring and placed it carefully on the entry table. I fixed the toilet upstairs, he said. Uchi's voice oddly steady. IT was running, and the grass daura painter needs new batteries there under the sink. The magagi autopy said, but you need to call about transferring the utility. He stopped himself, recognizing what he was doing. Vile acts of caretaking. Shebet's dying heart. Daniel. Clara stopped herself, swallowed. Ethan, please, we can't talk about this. We're through it, Tito. He made her gazi. Her eyes were red now, wet whiskers. He believed that she was Sauri. Sauri for hurting him. Sauri for the situation. Sauri that love underlined the way she'd hoped. But not Sauri now to let go of the man who had always been first in her heart. No, Ethan said so swiftly. Vichan, because it would require you to want something different than what you already have. What do you mean? I think you want me to be okay with being second, he said. With sharing you. With building a life around the ghost of the man you actually wanted. She reached for him, then stopped herself. I didn't mean for this to happen. I know, Ethan said, but I did. He opened the front door. Cool night air rushed in, carrying the scent of cold grass and something else possibility. The street was quiet, bathed in soft yellow light. I deserve more than this, Ethan said, turning back to her one last time. I deserve someone who chooses me first. Who doesn't tell me to go to hell when I express discomfort. Who doesn't keep their exercise emotional safety net. Im Sauri, Clara whispered. Me too, he said. He stepped outside, closed the door gently behind him, and walked to Ichia's car. As he drove away, he glanced in the rearview mirror. Clara stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the warm light of the house he had built but never truly lived in. As he turned the corner, she lifted her phone. He didn't need to guess who she was calling. Ethan drove through the quiet streets of the neighborhood he had chosen, past houses full of lives he would never know. Odess just felt hollow, but clean like a wound finally passed to air. The house was supposed to be a fresh start. Maybe it still was. Just not the one he had imagined. Sometimes, the ending of something wrong was the beginning of everything right. Behind him, the lights faded into darkness. Ahead, the road stretched forward uncertain, but finally reaches on.